Mastery begins not with the conquest of the world, but with the conquest of the self. The external victories we seek, success, respect, control, are only temporary if they are not grounded in internal clarity. When your attention is always outward, you become reactive, pulled by the winds of opinion, comparison, and desire. But when you turn inward and begin observing the true nature of your thoughts, only then does the path of mastery reveal itself. To master oneself is not to suppress emotion, but to understand its movement. Anger, fear, and desire arise like sudden storms. They are not enemies but messengers. If you chase them or resist them, you remain enslaved. But if you remain present with them, observing without judgment, they pass, and you remain still like a mountain. From this stillness comes the power to act with intention, not impulse. Discipline is not a punishment, it is a liberation. When you begin to train the mind like the body, consistently, patiently, without excuse, you discover that freedom is not the absence of boundaries, but the mastery of your own system. The body becomes sharp. The breath becomes steady. The mind becomes a blade. Clean, clear, precise. This is not something given by others. It is forged within your daily actions. Mastery requires solitude, not isolation from people, but solitude from noise. In silence, you begin to notice the chatter that fills your mind. Doubt, judgment, distraction. Most never question it, but you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, the one who sees, the one who listens. Strength arises when you stop reacting to that voice, and instead choose your response with awareness. A master does not rush. He does not chase every opportunity or respond to every insult. He waits not because he is passive, but because he understands timing. To know when to speak and when to be silent, when to act and when to observe, when to move forward and when to stand still. This is not weakness. It is refinement. A master is not swayed by urgency. He moves according to principle. Your energy is sacred. To master yourself is to understand where your energy flows each day. If you give it away to distractions, to gossip, to complaints, you weaken your center. But if you gather it through breath, movement, intention, you begin to feel a deep reservoir growing within you. You begin to feel power not as aggression, but as quiet presence that nothing outside can shake. Mastery is not perfection. It is the willingness to return, again and again, to the practice. Even when you fall, even when you forget, even when you feel weak. You return, you align, you recommit. This consistency builds a foundation stronger than motivation, stronger than emotion. It becomes your structure, your root, your inner temple. Others may not see it, but you will feel it. Do not wait for approval to begin. The path of mastery is not validated by applause or acknowledgement. It is walked alone in silence through the dark corridors of your own limitations. And yet, as you continue, the world begins to reflect your inner change. You do not control the world, but you begin to influence it, simply by being unshakable within it. To win without conflict is not a matter of avoiding difficulty, but of transcending the need to struggle. True strength is quiet. It does not announce itself or seek validation. When you reach a state where confrontation no longer defines your actions, you begin to see how unnecessary many battles are. The ego craves victory through opposition, but wisdom seeks victory through understanding. Conflict is often born from the illusion of separation, the idea that others are enemies, that disagreement must be destroyed. But when you look deeper, most opposition is a mirror reflecting something unresolved within yourself. When you learn to dissolve that inner tension, many outer tensions dissolve with it. Peace begins not by silencing others, but by silencing the war within. Every force has its opposite, and every push invites a counterpush. In combat, in argument, in life, when you push too hard, you become blind to the opening. The highest level of skill is to redirect energy, not resist it. Let others expend their power while you remain still, grounded, clear. This is not submission, it is strategic clarity that comes from seeing beyond the surface. Words can win battles without raising a weapon. A calm response can disarm aggression. A step back can create more space than any forward strike. To win without conflict is to understand the nature of influence, how your presence, your tone, your posture all carry messages more powerful than argument. When you are rooted, you do not need to raise your voice to be heard. There is power in not reacting. When someone provokes, challenges, or attacks you, and you remain centered, something shifts. You remove their fuel. You step out of the cycle. They expect resistance and instead find presence. You do not fight, yet you do not yield. This stillness is not weakness. It is mastery. You are no longer dragged into every disturbance that arises around you. In nature, the river does not resist the rock. It flows around it, and in time, the rock is shaped. This is the nature of subtle strength. To win without conflict is to move like the river, flexible yet directed. You learn to sense the rhythm of life and adjust with it, instead of against it. What cannot be bent breaks. What can flow remains. When you remove the need to win in the eyes of others, you become dangerous to the patterns of conflict. You no longer fight for status, reputation, or recognition. You act with purpose, not performance. This removes the fuel that drives competition. The one who does not need to win cannot be provoked into war, and in that, they have already won. Victory is often found in prevention, not domination. A situation avoided, a tension eased, a word withheld at the right moment. These quiet decisions shape your life more than grand confrontations. It is in restraint, in patience, in clarity that the deeper battles are won. Not because you destroyed what opposed you, but because you made the conflict irrelevant through the strength of your presence. To know the self is the beginning of all true wisdom. Without understanding your own patterns, your fears, your desires, your reactions, you will mistake the world for the source of your suffering. The external becomes a theater where internal conflicts play out. You argue not because of what is said, but because of how you receive it. You chase not what you want, but what you think will silence your restlessness. Awareness is the sharpest blade you can carry. It cuts through delusion. It reveals the truth behind your actions. Ask yourself, why do I seek this goal? Why do I avoid this conversation? Why do I repeat this pattern? Until these questions are faced, you walk through life blind, even with your eyes open. Knowing yourself is not comfort. It is confrontation with the truth that hides beneath habit. Silence becomes your mirror. When you sit quietly and observe, the noise within begins to rise. Thought after thought, emotion after emotion, memory after memory. Most people flee this process, but if you sit long enough, you begin to see what is truly there. You begin to understand the machinery of your mind, and only when you understand the machine can you begin to guide it with discipline. Once you begin to know yourself, the way you view others transforms. You no longer rush to judge. You listen more deeply, because the same fears you carry, they carry. The same longings, wounds, insecurities. You begin to see that beneath the behavior is always a cause, a story, a wound. This does not make others right or wrong. It simply allows you to respond with greater precision and compassion. Observation without ego is the foundation of all understanding. If you look at others to compare, to compete, or to control, you will always distort what you see. But if you observe to understand, to feel, to read energy, to see beneath the surface, then you can move wisely. In martial arts, we do not watch the opponent to fear them. We watch to understand the rhythm of their intent. To know another, you must be empty, empty of assumptions, empty of personal narrative. If your mind is full of noise, you cannot truly hear. If your perception is clouded, you cannot truly see. True presence means setting yourself aside. Only then can you receive what is before you with clarity. This is not passivity. It is a deeper form of engagement that sees more with less effort. Understanding yourself gives you freedom. Understanding others gives you strategy. The mind that knows both can navigate any situation with balance. You know when to act and when to step back. You know how to approach, how to protect, how to de-escalate. The battlefield is no longer chaotic. It becomes a space of choices, each informed by awareness rather than reaction. Without self-knowledge, confidence is unstable. Without understanding others, influence is accidental. But when you combine both, your actions carry weight. You are no longer trying to control everything. You are simply responding with mastery. You walk into the world not to overpower, but to navigate with precision, with calm, with purpose. Change is not an interruption. It is the nature of life itself. To resist it is to invite struggle. The seasons shift without asking for permission. The body ages, the mind evolves, and circumstances transform like clouds passing across the sky. Flowing with change means no longer clinging to what was, nor fearing what may come. It means entering each moment with readiness rather than resistance. When the mind is rigid, even small disturbances feel like storms. But when the mind is fluid, even great changes become manageable. Flexibility is not a weakness. It is a skill. The tree that bends in the wind does not break. Likewise, the individual who adapts does not collapse. To flow with change is to be present enough to see what is needed now, not what was needed yesterday. Control is a temporary illusion. You cannot control what others do. You cannot control outcomes, but you can control how you respond, how you prepare, how you align with the unfolding of life. Flowing with change is not about being passive. It is about responding wisely instead of reacting blindly. It is the difference between drifting and navigating. In training, every movement contains this lesson. The strike must adjust if the distance shifts. The breath must deepen when the pace quickens. The body must relax to endure. Those who resist the natural flow exhaust themselves. Those who move in harmony with the moment conserve energy and remain clear. In this way, the principle of flow becomes both a physical and spiritual discipline. Adaptation requires awareness. If you are too busy defending the past or worrying about the future, you will miss the opportunities that exist in the present. Flow is only possible when you are fully here, listening, watching, feeling. Change leaves signs. It never arrives unannounced, but only the quiet mind can read those signs and adjust its direction in time. There is no final state of balance. Life is a continuous dance between order and chaos. To flow with change is to understand this rhythm and stop trying to freeze it. A martial artist does not seek to freeze the opponent, but to move with them, absorb their energy and redirect it. In the same way, your life becomes a form of dynamic alignment, not fixed control. Letting go is often necessary. Not everything that was useful yesterday serves you today. Identities, beliefs, routines, they must be examined and released when they no longer fit the shape of your path. This is not betrayal, it is evolution. The river does not mourn the mountain it leaves behind. It continues, shaping new landscapes as it moves forward. When you flow with change, you conserve your power. You do not waste energy resisting the inevitable. Instead, you direct your energy toward refinement, toward awareness, toward presence. Like water carving stone, you move with patience and precision, adjusting with each turn, steady in motion but rooted in intention. Speed without awareness leads to chaos. In a world obsessed with fast results, rapid reactions, and instant gratification, we often confuse movement with progress. But speed alone cannot bring mastery. It is timing, the ability to move with precision at the right moment, that determines the outcome of both action and intention. Rushing ahead without insight blinds the senses and scatters the mind. In martial arts, a technique delivered too early misses the target, too late, and the opportunity disappears. The master observes, waits, breathes, and then acts. There is no urgency, only clarity. Timing does not rely on haste, it relies on rhythm, patience, and sensitivity. It is the art of entering the moment, not forcing it to arrive. Slowness is not failure, it is refinement. When you move slowly with purpose, you sharpen your perception. You notice details that the hurried mind overlooks. You begin to sense the energy of a situation, the posture of another person, the silence between movements. This sensitivity allows you to strike not often, but effectively, conserving your force and amplifying your impact. The natural world moves according to timing, not speed. Seeds sprout when the soil is ready. Storms form when the conditions align. Nothing is rushed, yet everything unfolds with perfect precision. When you align with this natural rhythm, your decisions become more accurate, your reactions more intentional, and your efforts more aligned with the flow of reality. Speed is often a disguise for fear. The fear of being left behind, the fear of missing out, the fear of facing discomfort. So we rush into conversations, commitments, and outcomes, hoping to escape stillness. But timing requires you to be still long enough to see clearly. It demands presence. It demands trust. It demands the strength to wait, even when everything around you says move. A poorly timed action can create damage that no amount of speed can undo. The words spoken in anger, the decisions made in desperation, the paths taken in impatience. These are not failures of intent, but failures of timing. The disciplined mind pauses not out of doubt, but out of respect for the unfolding process of cause and effect. In life, timing is often the difference between resistance and flow. When you act before something is ready, you face friction. When you act after the moment has passed, you meet resistance. But when you move at the right time, effort becomes effortless. Doors open, conversations unfold, movements land. This is not coincidence. It is the result of being aligned with the rhythm of what is. To prioritize timing over speed is to practice self-restraint. It is to know that there is no need to race when you are prepared, no need to force when you are aware, no need to prove when you are aligned. Timing comes from listening to yourself, to your surroundings, to the moment as it breathes and shifts. Discipline is not separate from strategy. It is the foundation upon which strategy stands. Without discipline, intentions remain hollow and plans dissolve under pressure. A mind that cannot govern itself will never hold position in chaos, in any field, whether combat, conversation, or decision-making. The one who has trained discipline moves with purpose, while others react out of habit. Strategy is not formed in the heat of the moment. It is forged in daily repetition, in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Each early rise, each mindful breath, each completed task is a sharpening of internal order. The disciplined individual does not need to calculate every step in crisis. They have already trained their instincts to act with clarity and control. Many seek shortcuts to success, but a disciplined path does not rely on luck or shortcut. It builds strength slowly, layer by layer. Strategy is not about improvising brilliance when needed. It is about becoming so prepared that brilliance arises naturally. In this way, discipline is not the restriction of freedom. It is the structure that allows freedom to be expressed wisely. The mind, when undisciplined, is pulled in every direction, by craving, by distraction, by fear. But discipline trains the mind to stay still, to choose rather than chase. In that stillness, strategy becomes visible. You begin to see patterns others overlook. You sense openings, feel resistance, calculate impact, not with anxiety, but with calm certainty that comes from a well-trained center. Discipline builds consistency, and consistency sharpens perception. What others experience as luck, the disciplined recognize as the result of preparation aligning with opportunity. Strategy emerges from this clarity, not from sudden bursts of brilliance, but from the ongoing process of aligning effort with insight. A life without discipline lacks rhythm. A life with it becomes symphonic. In training, every repetition is a vote for who you become, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. A disciplined person does not need to pretend strength. They embody it. When difficulty comes, they are not surprised. When challenge arises, they are not shaken. Their strategy is not reactive. It is rooted in identity shaped through daily commitment. Discipline sharpens timing. It refines awareness. It conditions restraint. All of these are strategic weapons. You begin to speak only when necessary. You begin to move only when the moment is aligned. You become harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, and harder to defeat. Not because of brute strength, but because you waste nothing. Your energy is no longer scattered. It is stored, aimed, and precise. Strategy is not something to be summoned. It is something to be lived. Discipline ensures that your values are not negotiable under pressure, that your path remains steady even when storms arise. It is the slow forging of a way of being that does not fall apart in urgency, but becomes more focused, more effective, more intentional as challenges intensify.